I was working to give her her dream wedding, and she took everything. I sat there, stunned, as her mother tried to paint me as the villain in this situation. Unreasonable? Jealous? I'd worked my tail off for years, putting her dreams before mine. And this was how they justified her actions? Every fiber of my being wanted to explode. But I stayed calm. I let them finish, biting my tongue as they spewed excuse after excuse. Her father, however, wasn't buying any of it. He slammed his hand on the table, silencing everyone. "I didn't raise you to act like this," he shouted at her. "You betrayed this man who has done nothing but love and support you. And for what? Someone you've never even seen face to face? What kind of foolishness is this?" She shrank into her chair, avoiding his fiery glare, but rather than apologizing or showing remorse, she turned to me with a half-hearted, "I'm sorry you feel hurt." It was the kind of non-apology that only added fuel to the fire. I took a deep breath, trying to keep my composure. "Hurt? You didn't just hurt me, you obliterated everything we built together. You drained our savings, left me stranded, and now you expect me to sit here and accept a lame apology? No, that's not going to cut it." Her father nodded in agreement, turning back to her. "You need to take responsibility, not just for the money, but for the damage you've caused. You owe him more than an apology." At that point, her mother chimed in again. "Let's not blow this out of proportion." She was unhappy in the relationship. People make mistakes. Mistakes? Draining a bank account and abandoning your partner wasn't a mistake. It was a deliberate, calculated choice. I clenched my fists under the table, but stayed focused on what mattered. "I'm not here to argue about who was unhappy," I said, locking eyes with her. "I'm here because you took money that wasn't yours and shattered my trust. You owe me an explanation and a solution." Her father leaned in, his voice low and serious. "You're going to repay every cent of that money. Do you understand me?" She hesitated, her face pale. I don't have it anymore," she stammered. The room went silent. "Excuse me?" I asked, my voice shaking. "I sent some of it to him," she admitted, barely above a whisper. "He needed help with his rent, and..." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. She had sent our hard-earned savings to some random guy she'd never even met. It felt like I was trapped in a bad dream. Her father exploded. "Are you out of your mind? You've been duped, and you don't even realize it. This man doesn't care about you, he cares about your money." Her mother tried to intervene, but even she couldn't justify what her daughter had done. I leaned back in my chair, feeling utterly defeated. "You know what?" I said, standing up. "Keep the money. Clearly, you're going to need it more than I will if you're this reckless. I'll figure things out on my own." I walked out of the restaurant, ignoring their protests. Her father called after me, but I couldn't stay there a second longer. The betrayal, the excuses, the sheer audacity, it was too much to handle. In the weeks that followed, I focused on rebuilding my life. It wasn't easy. I had to pick up extra shifts to recover financially, and emotionally, I felt like I was starting from scratch, but I refused to let her actions define me. One day, out of the blue, I received a message from her father. He had managed to gather the money she had taken and wanted to repay me. I was hesitant at first, but he insisted. "You don't deserve to suffer because of her mistakes," he said. True to his word, he sent me the full amount. I used that money to move back home and start fresh. I found a new job, reconnected with old friends, and even started therapy to work through the anger and betrayal I had bottled up. Slowly, but surely, I began to heal. Then came the twist I never saw coming. A year later, I was scrolling through social media when I saw her name pop up. Curiosity got the best of me, and I clicked on her profile. It was public, and her posts painted a picture of someone who was completely lost. She had broken up with the online guy after meeting him in person, realizing he wasn't who he claimed to be. She'd also burned bridges with her family, who had grown tired of her selfish behavior. It felt like poetic justice, but I didn't dwell on it for long. I had moved on, and my life was in a much better place. Dwelling on her downfall wouldn't change what had happened, nor would it help me grow. Fast forward another year, and I met someone new, someone kind, thoughtful, and supportive. She didn't care about grand gestures or extravagant plans. She just wanted a genuine connection. For the first time in years, I felt like I could breathe again. When I proposed to her, it wasn't with the flashy wedding fund I had saved years ago. It was with a simple ring and a heartfelt promise to always value her and our relationship. She said yes, and I've never been happier. Looking back, I realized that my ex's betrayal, as painful as it was, taught me invaluable lessons. It showed me the importance of self-worth and the dangers of ignoring red flags. Most importantly, it reminded me that sometimes losing something isn't the end, it's the beginning of something far better. 6 years of my life fell apart, but I built something stronger in its place. Life has a funny way of testing you, but if you persevere, the rewards can be sweeter than you ever imagined. Her mom even justified her actions, saying, "I know it's wrong, but you wasted 6 years of her life." Those words hit me like a ton of bricks. Wasted, as if I had deliberately robbed her daughter of her time and happiness. It took everything in me to stay calm and not react impulsively. I felt my father's advice echo in my head. Listen without interrupting and let them vent. So, that's what I did. I sat there, nodding occasionally, as they voiced their grievances. It was infuriating to hear them twist the narrative and make it seem like I was the villain in the story. Her father chimed in, blaming me for not noticing her unhappiness sooner. Her mother piled on, saying that if I had been more attentive, none of this would have happened. It felt like a carefully coordinated attack, but I held my composure. When it was finally my turn to speak, I took a deep breath and focused on keeping my tone calm and steady. "I'm not here to argue or dig up the past," I began. "I'm here to settle the issue of the money. If she's happy with someone else, I'm not going to stand in her way, but she can't expect to walk away with what isn't hers." My words silenced the room, if only for a moment. I reached into my bag and pulled out printed copies of my bank statements. "These documents show every deposit I made into our joint account," I explained, laying them on the table. As I expected, my ex immediately accused me of forging the numbers. "You're good with computers," she sneered. "You could have easily edited these." Her father stepped in, clearly uneasy. "Is there any way to verify this information?" he asked. I was prepared for this. "I can log into my account right now and show you the transactions," I replied. I handed him his phone and pulled up my bank's app. Scrolling through the deposits, I pointed out how every transaction matched what was on the printed statements. The records only went back 12 months, as older ones required a bank visit, but it was enough to prove my case. Her father scrutinized the screen, comparing it to the documents. After what felt like an eternity, he nodded. "This seems legitimate," he said, looking over at his wife. Her face tightened, her confidence visibly shaken. My ex, however, refused to back down. She doubled down, claiming I must have hidden money elsewhere. I didn't take the bait. My focus was on resolving the matter, not indulging her baseless accusations. In the end, her father surprised me. He stepped away briefly and returned with a checkbook and a wad of cash. "I'll transfer $3,000 right now," he said, handing over the cash. "And here's $11,000 in cash. I'll pay the remaining $800 within 2 months." I could see the tension between him and his wife as he made the payment, but he didn't falter. "Thank you," I said, keeping my voice neutral. As per his request, I sent an email confirming receipt of the payments, ensuring everything was documented. Before leaving, I turned to her parents and said, "I want to apologize for any mistakes I made during our relationship. I know I wasn't perfect, and I take responsibility for my part." It wasn't an easy thing to say, but my father's words guided me. Taking the high road wasn't about letting them off the hook. It was about maintaining my dignity. Later that evening, my father called. He had spoken with her parents and learned some interesting details. Apparently, they didn't entirely believe her claim that she had only taken $22,000 from the account. Her father's insistence on seeing my bank statements wasn't just to verify my claims, it was also to verify hers. They had their suspicions about her honesty, and my evidence confirmed them. It was absurd to think they believed I might have fabricated the cheating story out of jealousy. But at that point, I didn't feel the need to defend myself any further. The truth was on my side, and that was all I needed. Just when I thought the drama was over, a message popped up on my phone a few days later. It was from her mom's number, but the text was unmistakably from my ex. She admitted she had been wrong and asked for a second chance. "I want to start over and make things right," the message read. I stared at the screen in disbelief. After everything she had done, betraying me, lying, taking the money, she had the audacity to ask for a fresh start. I didn't respond. I couldn't. How could I even consider going back to someone who had betrayed me so completely? 6 years is a long time, and I'd be lying if I said I didn't still care about her. But love isn't enough to rebuild what had been shattered. Trust is the foundation of any relationship, and ours had been demolished beyond repair. Now, as I sit here reflecting on everything that's happened, I feel nothing. No satisfaction, no anger, no longing, just emptiness. It's a strange sensation, like being in the eye of a storm after the chaos has passed. I know I'll miss her eventually. 6 years of shared memories don't vanish overnight. I'll miss the little things, the way she laughed, the inside jokes we had, the plans we once made for the future. But those memories are tainted now, overshadowed by her betrayal. I've come to accept that some wounds are too deep to heal. Even if we had tried to rebuild what we once had, the doubt would always be there, lurking in the background. Every time she was late coming home or received a text from an unknown number, I would question her loyalty. That kind of damage can't be undone. To everyone who has followed my story, thank you. Your comments and advice helped me see things more clearly when I was too emotionally overwhelmed to think straight. Moving on won't be easy, but I've learned an important lesson. I deserve someone who values me as much as I value them. Love isn't supposed to be a battlefield where trust is constantly tested. It's supposed to be a partnership built on mutual respect and honesty. For now, I'm focusing on myself. I've started going to the gym again, picking up hobbies I abandoned during the relationship, and reconnecting with old friends. Healing is a slow process, but it's also an opportunity for growth. To anyone reading this who might be going through something similar, know that you're not alone. It's okay to feel hurt, betrayed, and even angry, but don't let those feelings define you. Take the high road, even when it's the hardest thing to do. In the end, your peace of mind is worth more than any temporary victory. As I close this chapter of my life, I'm cautiously optimistic about the future. The pain is still fresh, but I know it won't last forever. One day, I'll look back on this experience and see it as a stepping stone to something better. For now, I'm taking it one day at a time, finding solace in small victories and moments of clarity. And as for her, I wish her well. Truly, I hope she finds whatever it is she's looking for. But I know now that it won't be with me. I've let go of the anger and resentment because carrying it around only weighs me down. My focus is on building a future where I'm surrounded by people who appreciate and uplift me. Thank you for being part of my journey. Moving on isn't easy, but it's the only way forward. Here's to new beginnings.